Okay, we're back and we're actually looking at the context for learning information. So this is the document you can access through the student resources and documentation section. It is a Word document in that section. The link will take you to a Word document that looks exactly like this, on which you can directly type. For the purposes of this class, we're using the elementary level context for learning. There's very little difference whether you're in the P3, K6, or K12 certification areas. There's very little difference on the EdTPA in terms of the context for learning sections. So we're kind of settling in the middle and using the elementary literacy context for learning for this particular class. When you're actually doing it, you'll notice some very slight differences. And again, very little changes from semester to semester or year to year. The EdTPA handbooks are updated annually, but there's generally very little change particularly in this section. So if we take a quick walk through this section, you'll see that you are responding to a series of prompts. You can produce no more than 4 pages. These are single-spaced pages. You type right within the brackets that are provided on the page. You cannot change the prompts in any way. You certainly can explain some things that you put in response to your prompts if you feel that they need explaining. For example, you may say in what type of school are you teaching. You may be in an elementary school. You may also want to include that it is an elementary charter school. In your cases, those of you who are in your field placements this semester, you are in basically preschool through 12 schools, whether you're at Southburg and Jointure or the Grayman schools. You are in schools that basically offer services preschool through 12. They are private and they are self-contained special education schools. So that's a special feature of the school when we get down to 3. So the first thing you are looking at is what is the type of school in which you are teaching? Where is the school located? Is it a city, a suburb, a town, a rural community? For the most part, you are in schools that are located in suburban communities which serve both suburban and urban communities. You would talk about your special features here, that these are private, self-contained special education schools. You may talk about the fact that classes are co-taught. This is where you would put the specialized instruction, the classroom staffing, those staffing patterns, things you've been writing about in your logs the past 2 weeks. This is where you would describe your school district, or in the case of the schools, the fact that these are Southburg and Jointure is really a public school component. That's a public school, almost a self-contained public school district. If you're at the Grayman School, you're really in a private school program that serves as an out-of-district placement school for students who are sent there by their school district who cannot provide the same level of service for the students. Then, so after you talk in generalities about the communities and about the quote-unquote school districts, you're also going to talk about the classroom in which you are actually doing your field placement. How much time is devoted to literacy? You can also include here how much time is devoted to math, how much time is really devoted to, in the case of the schools that you're in, how much time is devoted to functional academic skills, functional living skills. That's where you would put in And you would also talk about the fact that these schools serve special populations. So when you talk about ability grouping, you might talk about the fact that they are um, specialized schools that serve children with high needs, and they are maybe schools based on applied behavioral analysis. You can speak with your cooperating teacher to get some of this information if you're not clear as to exactly how the school itself is described. You can also talk about the technology that's used. You have a lot of technology in your programs. You have students who use PECS, or the Picture Exchange Communication System. You have almost all the classrooms and a lot of the programs have whiteboards that they use extensively, or smart boards. You have students who are using iPads with specialized communication programs on them, like language acquisition through motor planning or Proloquo to Go. Those are the kinds of things you would put in this section. Then you are going to talk about the students specifically. Again, remember, you use no names. You can use first initial, or you will talk about the age and grade range in a classroom. You might have in any of your classrooms students within three grades of each other. Talk about the number of students in the class, how many boys versus girls. What you will then do is go to the chart below, the table below. Most of you have students by virtue of the fact that this is a special education placement semester. You will have students with IEPs. You can identify the number of students. All of your students will have IEPs. So if you're in a classroom of 12 students, you have 12 students with you have IEPs. And what are their classifications? Some of your children are classified as multiple disabilities. Some are classified as communication disordered. Some might be classified as autistic. You can list those classifications in here. Again, these are pieces of information you will want to sit down and talk with your cooperating teacher about. You do not have to read all their IEPs if you are not able to have access to the IEPs, but you want to talk with your cooperating teacher and the staff in the classroom as to what kind of IEP goals are in place for the students. Most of your students will fit in here in this IEP and 504 section. If you have a student and again, who has an IEP, but may also be a second language learner, you may also want to list on this table the fact that this child also is a dual language learner working on learning English. I'm not sure in your current placements how many students fit that criteria, but that may be something you would want to include here. So this is the data that goes into the table that is the final section of your context for learning. So again, it's fairly straightforward. You respond to the prompts. There are a number of places where you can get some of the basic demographic information about the schools or the school districts. You can go to the New Jersey Department of Education website. They're a source for information on specific schools. You can go to specific school district websites themselves for those of you who are in both public and private schools. In some cases, the private schools have list information regarding their history and the nature of their program and the communities that they serve. You can also go to NCES, the National Center for Educational Statistics, which is part of the Institute of Educational Sciences. The NCES has a website with all kinds of data regarding school demographics. Rutgers University Libraries Online has an extensive demographic database on public schools in New Jersey. Census.gov also has extensive data on the towns in which many of these schools There is a website called proximity1.com, which offers information on schools. So there are a variety of resources if you are in need of additional information that will help you complete some of these prompts on the context for learning. Again, as you're doing it, if you have any questions, if you're stuck, email me. You can ask questions of Professor Richarski if she happens to be at your placement that day. You can ask me questions if I'm at your placement for that day. And again, you can email us and we can help you figure out some of this information for the context for learning. This assignment is due February 17th, Sunday, February 17th. In the syllabus, it originally said it was due this Sunday at 6 o'clock, but you've only been in your placement twice. You have another day on Tuesday or a day next week where you'll be in your placement where you can get more data or more information to complete the context for learning. So again, this represents a change in the syllabus. And I'll email this to everyone also. This assignment is due Sunday, February 17th, and you can submit it at 6 o'clock. There is no Dropbox for this assignment. I have to see if you can email it to me, or I have to see, I might be able to create a box by also putting it into the module as as an assignment, which you can submit that through the assignment boxes that way. So again, if you have any questions, email me, watch for an email. I'll be sending out an email as soon as this is over, letting people know or reminding people that the date for this, the due date for this assignment has changed. So that takes us through the context for learning. Hopefully it is a relatively straightforward assignment for you once you get the data that you need. All right, we'll stop here and see everybody in the next module.